our ecosystems don't overlap enough. So a lot of our viewers might not know, what exactly your politics are, where you are on this side. My understanding is you're like pretty hardcore on the life side.
I prepped him, Michael.
Like down the line. She prepped me a little bit. Like you're like down the line, like as out there as you can get on it, right?
Yeah, I think we ought to protect babies. I think it's bad to kill babies.
In this video, Michael Knowles is interviewed by the woke progressive host of a show called Counterpoints. Michael Knowles, as usual, provided a sound argument based not only on facts and data, but he made a convincing moral argument as well. That said, let's watch as Michael Knowles lays waste to this misguided progressive dummy.
And Democrats would say that the reason that they're competitive, or the reason that why they might even have a slight advantage at this point, is Trump's success in overturning Roe v. Wade, and that the country has kind of recoiled at that. What's your assessment of that? And tell me, like, for people who our ecosystems don't overlap enough. So a lot of our viewers might not know, what exactly your politics are, where you are on this side. My understanding is you're like pretty hardcore on the life side.
I prepped him, Michael.
Like down the line. She prepped me a little bit. Like you're like down the line, like as out there as you can get on it, right?
Yeah, I think we ought to protect babies. I think it's bad to kill babies. It's basically I guess that's an extreme position now. I used to be a kind of a moderate and common sense position.
I'm for protecting babies too. You want to elaborate on that?
We agree.
Yeah. I don't think we really need to elaborate. I think it's bad to kill babies. So that would inform my election choices. I agree with you that Roe v. Wade's overruling is an issue in the campaign. I think it's really the only issue that helps Democrats at all, and then only in certain places. But conservatives have debated how to react to this. You've seen a lot of Republicans just basically trying to downplay the issue on the campaign trail, which is probably fine as a matter of prudence. I think what happened with Roe v. Wade being overruled is not that pro-lifers merely won a victory. It's not that Democrats won a political victory, as some of them claim. It's that the whole conversation changed. So now the Supreme Court says in the Dobbs ruling that the issue has to go back to the states. The Supreme Court could have said that the 14th Amendment provides equal protection, and so you can't kill babies anywhere. That's certainly an argument. Professor Robbie George, John Finnis made that argument.
Look at this host playing these little passive-aggressive games. I don't know a lot about your politics, but from what I understand, you're pretty hardcore on the life side. If he thought that was going to get to Michael Knowles at all, I don't know what he's doing hosting a show like this. Michael Knowles' answer was exactly what you'd expect. Yeah, I think it's bad to kill babies. Isn't it funny how Democrats always say things like, if Donald Trump gets elected, women will lose their rights and be less safe. Just because you call abortion women's reproductive rights, it's still abortion. That's not risking the health of women. That's ridiculous. I find it fascinating how the Democrats literally had one issue that they could run on in this last election, and it was abortion. The fascinating part of it is that they cannot believe that women care about all the other things going on in our country more than the ability to kill babies. It's so stupid. But they're liberals. What else do you expect? Let's get back to the video.
An amicus brief to the court. But that's not what they said. They said the issue goes back to the states and people can vote on it. And so the issue for pro-lifers is that when abortion has come up as a ballot initiative, the pro-abortion policies have succeeded. They've prevailed pretty much every time. So Republicans are in a bad position right now because we're in a whole new ballgame. And so what is required is to win hearts and minds and persuade people that it's wrong to kill babies and it's good to protect life at the state level. But that's not really a federal matter right now. The Supreme Court has ruled on it. So when Trump and J.D. Vance downplay the issue of abortion, I think they're doing so as a matter of political prudence, but it's also just common sense. They really have nothing to do with that issue right now. Unless the Supreme Court is going to reverse its position, which it's not, then that's really a matter for the states, and it's a matter for gubernatorial candidates and state legislature candidates to fight.
And not to debate the point, but just on the definition of babies again, do you think that an IUD kills babies?
Well, and an IUD is a contraceptive device, right? So in principle, I'm not, not the biggest expert in contraception. I have 3 kids under 4, but from what I understand, that would prevent the conception of a baby. So preventing conception.
It in general prevents the implantation.
Oh, well, in as much, I suppose this would be similar to certain abortifacient drugs where the
Plan B.
the nature of it, like Plan B, is debated. And some people, you're being, I suppose, a little bit more blunt about it than many pro-sexual revolution types on the left. But many people argue that things like Plan B or things like IUDs are merely contraceptive and not abortifacient. But if they are contraceptive, then they prevent contraception. If they're abortifacient, they obviously involve abortions.
Yeah, it's just a matter of basic fact that
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
sometimes they prevent implantation.
Right.
So
Right,
you
but
would
I
consider
suppose
that
if-
a baby. So you would say IUDs, if that's the case, if I'm right about that you think that IUDs, a woman with an IUD is like killing
Well, I guess
babies.
the question
pretty
you're
regularly.
asking me, is when do I think human life begins?
Mhm.
And so my
Yeah.
answer is, I think it begins at the beginning. I don't know when else you would say it begins. Now, of course, no one's really campaigning in this election.
Where's
they're
the
not even really
beginning?
campaigning on abortion, but no one's really campaigning against IUDs or any contraception or anything like that. We're pointing out that the Democrats have taken their
why
safe,
not?
legal, rare position. Well, the reason is because the
You
Democrats
just said
have
you're
moved the
voting on
goalpost.
kill.
I'm
You don't
happy
want to
give
kill
an answer if
babies.
you like, Brian.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So the reason that they're not campaigning on that is because the Democrats have moved the goalposts so far. They used to campaign on safe, legal, and rare. Now they campaign on abortion at any moment up till birth and including after birth. So I know the Democrats are trying to run away with this because it's unpopular, but Andrew Cuomo, when he was governor of New York, was one of the first Democrat governors to change the law to say there will be no restrictions on abortion, even change the penal code such that if you killed a woman who was pregnant, it would no longer be double homicide. It would only be a single homicide. And then he lit up the Freedom Tower pink to celebrate. Tim Walz, as governor of Minnesota, repealed legal protections for babies who are born alive, who survive abortions. Babies can survive outside of the womb now, as really as.
I actually think the IUDs and contraception arguments are interesting ones to discuss, but Michael's right. That's not what people are campaigning on. And what this host is doing is what the left does all the time when it comes to abortion. Like I said earlier, they changed the name to women's reproductive health. They always discuss the most extreme cases of grape or incest, and then they want to get in the weeds with IUDs and contraception instead of just talking about is it right to kill babies or not. I personally am pro-life, and I believe it's morally wrong to use abortion as a type of birth control. And another thing no one ever talks about is, hey, maybe you shouldn't have had sex in the first place if you're not married to that person. But when the left argues about abortion, sorry, I'm circling back. When they argue about abortion, it's often about grape and incest, which is, I believe, less than 1% of all abortions annually. So they use the most extreme cases. And to me, this also represents a pattern of leftist arguments that I believe during the Clinton years, I think they referenced it in this clip, Bill Clinton said that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. That's very different than where we're at today, where there have literally been cases of babies being killed. I don't think I'd call it abortion at that point, but after the mother's given birth. And I don't know if you caught it, but when Michael Knowles mentioned that type of case, the host kind of chuckled at it. And that's a good summation of liberal arguments on this topic. They act like that's ridiculous, but unfortunately it does happen. So we went from safe, legal, and rare to now abortions after the child's been born already. And that's the problem with giving Democrats an inch. They will take a mile. It's never enough, because despite the fact that I'm pro-life, if I spoke with someone that's pro-choice, but they didn't believe that abortion should be used as birth control. And they were just mortified by the horrible stories that we hear and that unfortunately do happen of rape and incest. I think that's someone I could talk to. We may not fully agree, but I think we could find some middle ground because I have love for everyone. I have empathy. I can't fathom a woman going through something like that and the emotional and physical toll it would take on them. So I'm much, much more empathetic in those cases. But I have yet to meet a liberal that just wants to stick to those cases, the rare cases. They want to stick to the 99% that are just for people that don't feel like the extra hassle of a child right now, and it's not convenient for them. There's just a little bit left. Let's get back to the video.
24 weeks, 23 weeks, 22 weeks, even 21 weeks. So it's very, very young. Abortions take place up until the moment of birth. And so previously in Minnesota, there was a law that required doctors to provide medical care to babies who survive abortions, just as you would provide medical care to anybody who needed it. Tim Walz removed those protections. Tim Walz then also removed the reporting requirements. Now we know the number is disputed, but we know somewhere at least 5, maybe 8, maybe more babies actually were born alive and they were callously left to die without any medical care. So that's where we're fighting the issue right now because it clarifies the issue so much, and it's where Democrats have brought the issue. It's not Republicans who have done that.
Well,
I couldn't have said that last sentence that Michael Knowles said. I couldn't have said it better myself. The Democrats have brought this issue to this extreme point that we're at. Anyway, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? This is obviously a divisive topic, regardless of party affiliation. Are you pro-life? Are you pro-choice? Are you somewhere in between? Do you believe there should be exceptions? What do you think? Because as always, I'm just expressing my opinion, but I've been wrong about a lot of things in my life. So let us know. Anyway, that's it for this video. As always, we really appreciate you watching, and we will see you on the next one.